I really want to open it to like, what do you feel like are some of the greatest tools that you implement in your life that you think are like mastery tools for
Yeah.
living your greatest
Knowing my
life?
money persona
Uh-huh.
and Carrie's,
Mm-hmm.
my wife, because we're different. And what happened before we understood it, I always thought of me as the gas and her as the brakes. And so
Mm.
that's like very push and pull.
Mm.
But as soon as I realized she's the detail person that will
Mm-hmm.
make sure that everything gets seen all the way through and
Mm.
analyze it, I'm the initiator that will bring the ideas.
Yeah.
And so we haven't thought about money since 2008,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like that's pretty crazy because that's the number one reason listed for divorce. So like
Yeah.
knowing our money persona, that's been a huge thing. And I think the other thing is just that I make
And you
sure.
have a tool for that. Like you
Mhm.
have
Yeah, yeah.
like, so obviously you guys can not only go and
It's yeah,
order all of the
it's free. It's
books,
garrettgunderson.com/quiz.
and you've got the
Yeah.
muslings one as well for like your blog and like where you're like
Yeah,
jamming
yeah.
out on different teachings.
garrettgunderson.com/musings. And that's like
Your
it's
fun
pretty
play.
raw and very
Yeah, I
like
saw
just
you're
here's the whole, yeah.
going off on the different things, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll list those as well. Okay, so money
So,
persona.
so money persona. And then I just think that making sure that I have my meditation every morning and then
Mm-hmm.
that I'm just doing a little bit of writing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'll meditate, I sit in a sauna,
Mm-hmm. Love the sauna.
and then I do cold plunge,
Mm-hmm.
and then I listen to something from one of my spiritual mentors while I do 20 to 30 minutes of stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start my day. So
Mm-hmm.
that's from 5 to 9 usually that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing that. It's a big part of the day. But I also look at like I don't tithe money to any church. I tithe 10% of my morning of my whole day to
Yeah.
God. And that meditation for me is connecting directly to God and
Yeah.
allowing for God's loving and giving loving back. And then throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day, if I ever am like at a place where it doesn't feel optimal, then I just let that go to God. I
Mm-hmm.
just give it up to God. And then I just remind myself to like let that loving in and then just take whatever the feeling or emotion is
Mm-hmm.
in and just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's still there, then I'm going to do a little bit of writing.
Mm.
So that's been very helpful for me. I mean, my wife's been doing 2.5 hours of meditation for over 10 years and
Wow.
is a transformed person for it. I've been
Yeah.
a lot more inconsistent, like 30 minutes some days, an hour
Yeah.
another day, every
Yeah.
rare time, 2.5 hours,
But those
right?
rituals, I call it like devotion to divinity because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and for me, I'm like, I literally don't usually plan anything before noon because, and I get up, like I probably start around 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much, I mean, I do enemas almost every single day. Like I'm like, that's part of clearing my system and my body vessel in between like everything that I do. And there's waves where I go through.
Yeah, and you don't want to
Sometimes
be
it has
rushed
dance,
through any
sometimes
morning, right?
exactly.
It's
Like I
just
love my flow. So what I'm hearing also is this like, because I know that's for me when it became like time shifted when I went from like that high level, $1 million coaching clients and da da da, and I had like a schedule like that to be, and it was like okay, I end at this time to be with my boys, and I had taken a lot of those things from you, and where it shifted even more was being like for me, my number one priority is peace. Peace is my number one priority. Bliss is my baseline, and freedom is my foundation. Like if I'm not operating from that, because I know everything I create
right. So
is
you
created from
design the
that.
game, you determine the
Exactly.
rules, and then people play according to your
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
And if they don't fit those rules, that's fine.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
not going to be part of your
Yeah.
life. It's most people don't establish rules because they can't discern opportunity from distraction, and distractions enter their life all the time because they're gift wrapped like an opportunity.
Yeah.
They get there and they create
when
a
they're in
mess.
that scarcity point, which is
Right,
like,
because
oh, will you do
I
this? Will
gotta
you do
say
this? Will you do-"
yes.
Yes, yes, yes,
But
yes, yes,
abundance
yes.
allows us to say no
Yeah.
more often.
Yeah, you
Say
taught me
no
that.
to
I know.
things that aren't fully aligned.
Yep.
And I don't want more than 5 objectives at a time because
Yep.
if it goes more than 5, then it's going to crowd into family time. It's going to crowd into my thoughts. It's going to harm my performance. It's going to remove me from being present.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn to be really firm and loving
On
with
your
my
boundaries,
no's, right?
right.
Like I'll
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
hey, I don't have any time that I could allocate towards that, but if that changes, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So I don't ever shine them on where they think it's going to be different.
Yeah.
I'll say,
Or you're creating relationship capital value.
Right.
If someone says, and I swear I learned a lot of these things from you, and which really shifted my game with time and as also relationship capital, which was like if someone reaches out and they like want something from me and I get really clear on what they're really seeking. And when it comes down to they're like, oh, I really just want to show you my product or this or that. And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. And that's not really fit for me. I'm fully committed to my time is going here. And you know what? Now that I understand more of what you're looking for, let me tune into who I can connect
if
you
I
with.
can connect, right? Like
Exactly.
you don't
You're
have to
always
be the one that
creating
solves it. You can make
relationship
the connection.
capital.
Yep.
But it's saying no. I remember when it became like, if it's not a yes and it's a no,
That's
then,
it. Yeah.
and like I learned that from you and that shifted my game with time. And so what I'm hearing you say is maybe a shifter for that is like you said, like your morning time, like your practices are your foundation.
Right.
It's like, that's why for me, I'm like, I don't plan anything because that's where I come from to then go, ooh, now what do I want to
You
create for the
transform
day.
your entire rest of
Yeah.
the day when you've
Oh,
done that
yep,
work, because now
exactly.
you're showing up fully expressed, the best of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are just tired and they get diminishing returns because they're in the grind,
Mm-hmm.
because they're in the hustle.
Yeah.
And they're in people pleasing. So they're
Mm-hmm.
saying yes to things that they really want to say no to,
Mm-hmm.
which is the crux of sacrifice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, when you can learn how to give a loving no,
Mm-hmm.
life gets better.
Yeah. But you also said then it's like when you're overextending, right, then it's going into family time, relationship time, etc. For me, what I also learned from you is where it's like, yeah, always I had like every single night was either date night with my kids or my own personal date night or personal date night with my beloved or, you know, my whatever social time. So it was like, okay, I had this time is winnowed in. So it's really like, okay, this is the time frame where I have the space for what do I want to create, what I want to do. Can you maybe give an aspect of like how you built, because I know you also went through this as well as like finding these different characters in this journey of father, husband that led you to like, whoa, the high level successful dude that was building that life, that wasn't going to fly because it was a sacrifice.
Well, I think that rituals and traditions are what call forth our own divinity and our own time for ourselves. So it's like
Devotion to divinity.
This is who I am. This is what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to say no when something's tempting. But you're like, that would infringe upon something. So it's just like when I buy clothes, I always give something away if I buy something new.
Because you can't
let go of something to embrace something. So it's the same thing with activities. If I'm going to say yes to something, what is either going to be complete or what would I then remove?
Yeah.
Because if I just add to, that's either going to infringe on sleep, on peace of mind, on family time, on artistry. Like, so it's, you know, I have 5 things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And I want to do those at the most
High
excellent level.
Yeah.
But I have carved out time in the morning and evening that can't be infringed upon.
Yeah, that's family time and your time, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, I created rules when we had young kids, which was if I'm gone more than 4 nights in a month, then I take a day off during the weekday.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife and I had rules like we're going to be gone from the kids overseas 14 nights a year because we deserve that time alone. They deserve to miss us and we can come back together. Yeah. But like a lot of people, they're always around and it just creates bad habits and not, you know, some of that fun. So then we had those rules. But
so you created a different game with time coming from the designing the game of what is the most nourishing, how do we be in the highest alignment. Right. It wasn't coming from when I do this, then I can take this vacation time, then I can have time at night with my kids, etc. You started, that's the framework.
Right. And some people are like, well, if they have a lot of demands on their time or they got a lot going on. Well, look, in 2008, I had a huge real estate portfolio. I had a business that had been growing 10 straight years and had, you know, a lot of employees. And when that became overwhelming, it was, all right, I'm done with most of my real estate because I don't like talking to attorneys and I don't like talking to, you know, banker. There was nothing inspiring about it. It was just, this is a money play. So I said, all right, I can spend 25% of my time for the next 12 months on cleaning up the real estate, selling the real estate, but 75% of my time is going to be spent on these things that I really matter in business and in my life and part of my purpose. And then that 25% is going to shrink to 0. And then when these opportunities come, I'm now going to know how to say no because I've carved out that I'm done by 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And anything that on a vacation is going to require my time and I can't just fully delegate doesn't get to be in my life. Now, could I make more money doing that? Maybe. But if that money didn't lead to a richer life or a higher quality of life, what did it matter? And I'm telling you, people get confused because they think the game is bigger net worth, but sometimes bigger net worth means smaller relationships. Means and look, the thing is, when you're present, you're infinitely more powerful than the person that's distracted. And so I can accomplish more in 4 hours than most people can accomplish in 4 days that are working harder, spending more time at the office because they're not present, because they're feeling guilt. They feel like they haven't spent time with their kids and therefore they're exhausted and then they're not getting good sleep and their minds like creating space is a gift. And if you can create enough space that you have moments of, man, I've had a lot of time to myself. Maybe I'm a little bit bored. that's where the magic starts to happen.
Yeah. Even in the like you said, the taking the time, even if someone started with just like meditation, what they're actually saying is I'm worthy to sit, to be, to not have to do. I remember the first time I ever like went to a beach, I lasted like 2 minutes. Like because it was like, oh my God, because that was so programmed in me that you couldn't be that and do that. And so you really implemented a shift like in the time frame. What else do you feel like is you said hobby and devoting to, you know, like creating from designing your game to be the win.
Yeah, designing the game. So you establish the rules, you tell people how the rules work, and you do the things that you want to do, and the things that you don't want to do, you continue to remove those over time by permanent delegation or elimination.
Got it.
So when you know your win, then it's you immediately go to, if you have an idea, who's your co-creator?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I love
who's your
hearing you talk
co-creator?
about this.
Because that will move it forward.
Yeah.
Then
And that can be even just speaking it out, like
Right.
sharing with friends, like having like owning it, declaring it, putting it into the field of the frequency of energy to be received.
Then it's where are you to find the time? You just got to look at your life. Like, where are you delaying something and that leads to numbing out? For some people, I see it where politics, like, I don't vote. I don't give a shit. Like,
I haven't ever voted actually.
I'm never going to, because I vote with my time every moment. I vote with how I live my life. It's worth more than me researching these candidates that are caught up in a system that isn't really
Your
about
system.
who I am. So politics is a big thing that is an escapism for a lot of people. Sports becomes a very big thing. Like, I enjoy watching it, but I don't want to be a spectator in life. Like, if the most important thing in my life has to do with something that I have no control over the outcome, I'm probably not playing a game that's worth playing. My vision is limited, you know? And then it's about offloading that in a permanent way in delegation, that someone owns it so I can own the things that I'm best at and not have to manage it. And then finally, collaboration is finding talents and abilities that can bring a vision forward that not one person would be capable of on their own. So you can truly leverage their skill sets and do something spectacular. So that's the process: co-creation, elimination, delegation, and collaboration. So the hobby gives you the insight, and and then simply knowing your money persona lets you know what your traps are going to be, so that you can choose more abundance when those traps come about. Because when people get hit with drama or trauma, or they get a cash flow crunch, or they hear about some childhood friend that's doing really well and now they feel jealous. I mean, there's all these traps that happen in money personas, or they hear news about the economy. And so now all of a sudden they start being fearful of something that someone says. And recessions happen, I think, more because of the mindset when people think there's a restriction.
Then they do that, and then they don't tip their waitress, and then it extends out, right?
My whole philosophy has been difficult economies lead to prosperity for my old company, because people start listening.
Yeah.
When things are good without effort,
they
don't listen. But when all of a sudden the market's down, and I've been saying the market's not the best place to put the money. They go, wait, what other places are there? So we always grew during recessionary times. So I don't have that same relationship with recessions. So it's really, where are we putting our attention? What does our schedule look like? What are we letting go of? What is our win that we define, so we know what game we're playing, and so that there's win every day? And what is it that's robbing us of being present? How do we remove that from our life, or address it? How do we address it? Because most of the people are carrying around pain that's unprocessed because they haven't had a conversation and they're holding resentment.
And then they're projecting that out onto everyone else, and
so
that's
learn
where
how to have
that
productive conversation, and especially the difficult ones will bring more peace. And like, not all of them are easy. I had a conversation once about my mom and my youngest son, and she told me she wanted to kill herself after the conversation because she felt like I was saying she was a bad grandma. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. But not having the conversation would have been a rift in their relationship. And now we're so close. And we had a family retreat, and part of the family retreat was, hey, we can all go through hard things together. We don't have to go through them alone. My mom almost died of kidney failure and didn't tell us how bad it was. Had both of her kidneys removed before getting a donation. And then we finally found out. And one of my Facebook posts got 33 applicants.
Wow.
So it's like, hey, we can support each other. You don't have to go, I don't want to worry you. But that's why people, they don't want to be judged. And I think part of the reason why people don't have difficult conversations is because they're worried about what they haven't owned in themselves. Like, so if they call someone out, they're going to then the agreement of we're all pretending everything's fine goes away, and then they have to be accountable for their actions too. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.